Okay. So for our first slide today, we have a little introduction from our past staff members to demonstrate to y'all what you can expect being a part of the orientation team. So let's get right into it.
It is time for Orientation Late Night! Where's the video? We hope you apply!
As it says, we hope we convince you to apply, but if not, we have further time today, about a whole hour, to talk about why you should join the orientation team. I'm going to pass it over to our graduate intern, Kaya, to talk more about the orientation leader position and an overview of our office.
Okay, so to get started, our mission for student orientation and transition programs is to welcome and develop students to thrive in their transition to and through Rutgers University, New Brunswick. We have the opportunity as a staff to welcome over 7,000 new first year and transfer students every single summer. And this includes programs during Welcome Week, Transfer Week, first and second year programming, and also student leader development, because we are trying to develop potential student leaders just like yourself all through what we do for the program. And looking at plans for summer 2026, for those of you who have our camera on or are able to raise your hand virtually, who attended their orientation during their summer? Awesome. So you might have some kind of idea of what it might look like, but to get a look at what it might look like from the other side as a staff, it is in person, which is somewhat of a luxury nowadays since COVID. So that's very nice to have in-person energy. And we do have presentations, things like small group discussions, campus tour, evening social programs, and all around just having fun. All of these are opportunities for student staff to engage with students and really make them feel welcomed. And this includes, for the first years, it's a 2-day, 1-night experience. And then for transfer students, it's a 1-day experience on campus. Okay. And then the two positions that we are currently recruiting for are the orientation leader and the orientation coordinators. The first one, orientation leaders, they mostly are dedicated with a particular group of students at a time. They have the most face time with students. Those are the people that you've been interacting with during your orientations if you went, like the small group meetings and campus tours that we talked about. And we'll go further into detail with what really that looks like and what other responsibilities they have. And same with the orientation coordinators, except they are more doing the presentations, logistics behind the scenes, and including an overnight duty as well. And their purpose is to supervise, mentor, and train the orientation leaders. And so now the orientation leader roles and responsibilities, kind of going more in depth of what we kind of mentioned before. So all around, you just want to have that scarlet pride. You want that to be showed to your small groups. If you are showcasing that you love Rutgers, they also will feel more inclined to love Rutgers like you do. And you want to act as ambassadors, positive role models, a strong and positive representation of the university and of the orientation team and the student orientation transition programs as a whole. You're responsible for, again, facilitating the small group discussions, answering questions, connecting students to resources, and just showcasing Rutgers again. and then also, like mentioned, assisting in the behind the scenes setup and breakdown of all the orientation sessions that occur during the program. And this is just a little spreadsheet of like the dates and the time commitments, just to kind of lay it out and see what the summer and a little bit of the spring will look like for you. Starting April 12th, there's a new hire welcome if you were to make it to that point from 1 to 3 p.m. That's just a really good opportunity to meet everyone that you will be with over the summer. Also, the orientation leader mixer again in April, date to be determined, but another opportunity to just get to know the people that you'll be working along with during the summer. So those are just fun introduction opportunities. Then the summer is the bulk of what you will be doing. Looking the end of May, that's when you will move into where you'll be staying for the summer while you work. Early June to end of June is staff training. Staff training is when you have the opportunity to learn everything, to be the most prepared and feel really good going into the job. You do not need to know everything and feel that you should be able to walk on and be an orientation leader right now as you are. We give you the tools and the resources to be successful in the position. And that is what happens in June. Then end of June, early August is when the program is actually taking place and you'll be working with those students that will be coming in. You'll have off around July 4th for vacation to celebrate, and then we close August 7th, and the next day move out. And then the time between then and final orientation sessions in the end of August is for you. That is your time to reset and feel ready to start your semester and enjoy the rest of your summer. And then the time of final orientation sessions include the welcome week and a little bit of transfer things. And then end of August is welcome week, like mentioned. And then I'll let Lade also talk a little bit more about what that 4 days of working kind of looks like.
Yes, so you will be working mostly 4 days per week during the week. So you will not be working weekends ever. This is not a weekend job. You're only working during the week. During that time frame, you're either going to have a Monday through Thursday schedule or you're going to have a Tuesday through Friday schedule. For what that schedule will look like is you don't pick and choose if you're working Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday, and that can change and vary depending on your schedule. Your schedule will be provided to you probably like in the middle towards the end of training, so sometime around like mid to late June, but you will know which weeks you're working that Monday through Thursday or that Tuesday through Friday schedule. This means that you will have that Monday off or you will have that Friday off, but the most important thing to know is before any session that you're working and scheduled to work, you do need to stay overnight in the residence halls that we provide to you. This is not something that you'll need to pay for. This is a privilege that we will be able to give to you as you are working for us, living on campus, but you will need to be there the night before any session that you're working. So if you're working a Tuesday through Friday session, that means that Monday night you do need to be in the residence hall to stay overnight for a morning meeting on Tuesday morning. If there's further questions about this, we can definitely talk about it at the end, but I wanted to give you a little glimpse of what your schedule will look like. So hopefully that provided some clarity. And I'll pass it back over to Riley to talk about the realities of the orientation leader workday.
Thank you, Lale. So you start every day with check-in, and then you end every second day with check-out. So check-in is just what it sounds like. It's when all of the students get there in the morning, and we scan them in and get them their name tags. So there's a bunch of different duties that you could end up having, like parking, scanning people in and getting them in line, which can be tough sometimes, but you learn great interpersonal skills and how to, lead by doing that. Or you get to be on name tags. So this is just a time for you to get all the students in, make sure everyone's accounted for. My favorite was always name tags because the amount of times that you just get to see your student that you're going to be spending the next 2 days with, and you get to just meet them like before you meet them again officially is really fun and it's always like a little joy, like, hey, I'm going to see you in like 20 minutes when we have our first meeting. So there's a bunch of different tasks there. And then checkout is basically the same, just in reverse. So instead of handing out name tags, now you're giving out free t-shirts, and you're making sure that everyone gets their keys back and knows where to go and doesn't get lost, basically. And also making sure everyone gets out of their rooms by the right time. So this really helps you, with your interpersonal communication skills and also your professional skills, because you have to give directions. You have to sometimes guide them. You have to make sure they have all the information they need to, be successful on their first day of orientation. And then are the small group meetings. This is probably the scariest part, but it's really fun. It's just you and like 10 to 15 students each day, and these are the students you're with for the whole 2 days. So this is where you really get to grow like your leadership skills, because you are the singular person leading them in discussions, giving them all the information, playing games, doing everything. So you grow really fast just through these meetings alone. There's 5 of them. At least there was this summer. It might be different this summer, but there was 5 across the 2 days. So that's 5 chances to meet with your students, get to know them better, and engage with them. You really learn public speaking through this, because it's like a smaller scale of what you may have to do later. And then, obviously small group facilitation, because you are literally facilitating every meeting. And some of them are quite long. Like we had one that was like 30 minutes. Again, it sounds scary, but you get so much better with it throughout the whole summer that it's like you learn all the strategies, you learn what you do or maybe don't need to spend as much time on. So that's really helpful. And then it's also a great time to just get them excited about coming to Rutgers, especially if you're playing games or like making the information more engaging. You can have some really successful small group meetings where they seem super excited, and that's just like the most rewarding aspect of the small group meetings. And then this is my personal favorite out of all the tasks. I know I've been saying that for like all of them, but this is actually the favorite, and that's the skits and the evening social. So the skits may seem a bit daunting. Once again, everything just gets easier. You practice the skits so much during training, and then you only have to do them like we did it, 3 times, I think, over the summer. So, you get used to it, and it gets less scary every time you do it. But the skits are just mainly for what would you do? So it's to help engage the audience and teach them about important resources here at Rutgers in a fun way. And then the evening social is you literally just get to go to the gym and hang out with your students, get them engaged with the activities, like karaoke, bingo, ice cream, bunch of fun things. It's not just fun for them, it's also fun for you. Like every night, I'd be looking forward to that social and that free ice cream. So this is just fun times. It's not all work. You do just get to go and hang out at the end of the day. So that's the social. And then the last one is the bus tours. These are also really fun. This is a fun job, guys. Okay, so on the second day, you go with your group and 1 to 2 other groups, depending on how big the session is, and you just lead them on the bus, telling them about every single campus. So this is really a great chance to once again practice public speaking, because it's a little bit bigger than just your group. It's also not as big as all, hundreds of students that are at the session. And you get to share a bunch of fun facts about the different campuses, the different resources, your favorite things. You can put them on to some hidden gems if you want. And you just, once again, get to play some games. This time you can combine groups. And it just is a really great, fun time on the second day to get out of, this year it was the Bush Student Center, to get out of the Bush Student Center and get out to all the different campuses. So, bus tours are fun. They can be stressful because, for me, I was not used to having to stand and do things on the bus. I'm really just trying to focus on standing. But you get really comfortable maneuvering that bus, I'll tell you what, with the microphone and leading the games. So, bus tours are fun on the second day.
Okay, great. Thanks, Riley. Now moving on to the OL qualifications. So first, a GPA of 2.5 cumulative. If you are not a first year, that is cumulative up till spring of 2026. But if you are a first year, we're only taking into account the full semester right now of 2025. You must be available for all the summer trainings and sessions. You should not be taking any summer classes or have other summer jobs unless approved by a professional staff supervisor. Usually if it is a class that is asynchronous, that works out. But of course, have communication and be honest about what the expectations are for your other commitments, and make sure that you're able to fulfill your responsibilities as an orientation leader. Moving on, you must be enrolled as a matriculating student at Rutgers for the fall 2026 semester. Must not be on student conduct, probation, or have any active sanctions. And if you are an international student, you must have a visa and a worker's permit that allows you to work in the U.S. for 40 hours a week. And the criteria, what we're looking for, there is no specific type of orientation leader. It is not one type of person that can be an orientation leader. There's all majors, interests, identities, personalities. Anyone can be an orientation leader. You do not need work experience, and being an orientation leader is a perfect first job where you kind of develop all those skills and experience that might be able to be translated to other places. So it really is a good foundational job to have. We do expect you to come in with a positive attitude and have a professional demeanor, though. Be flexible, have a growth mindset, all very important, and also have a strong work ethic and a willingness to connect with others. That is a big part of being an orientation leader. You are doing that on the daily, and have that excitement for Rutgers. And the benefits. This is a really good part. Having fun is a really fun job. The days are long, the hours are long, but you're having a lot of fun. Like Riley talked about, the evening socials and the ice cream, a lot of components throughout the summer. Then it's just opportunities for fun. You also learn a lot of skills, like I said, that can be translated in a lot of different settings: time management, interpersonal communication, small group facilitation, cultural competency, problem solving, and public speaking skills, just to name a few, but there are so many more. You get to learn a little bit more about the university you're attending, the traditions, services, and you get to share that knowledge with incoming students. Being a part of a team, again, having an unforgettable summer experience that not a lot of people can say that they had. And you get the pride of welcoming the next incoming class of Rutgers students. And of course, really, really cool swag, which is always a crowd pleaser. Compensation. Right now, the pay is $15.49 an hour pre-tax, paid out bi-weekly. That is subject to change if the New Jersey minimum wage does increase, but we will reflect the changes that the state makes. Housing accommodations, you get on-campus housing for the whole summer that you'll be working, and then select meals are also provided to you.
So to get started, we're going to talk about the orientation coordinator roles and responsibilities. So as I had mentioned before, this role does supervise our orientation leaders. They supervise, mentor, and train our orientation leaders. So they do a lot of things as a mentor and a team lead for our team. Additionally, they are doing a lot of presentations, specifically large-scale presentations. So you heard from Kaya a little bit earlier. The orientation leaders facilitate small group conversations, but those who are orientation coordinators, they're doing the main stage presentations with hundreds of people. So that is a different, unique skill that you can get regarding public speaking. But in addition to presenting, they're also facilitating presentations. And so Purva will talk about this a little bit later, but for example, the skits, she is facilitating the skits in front of these large audiences. So again, gaining that skill in public speaking there. Additionally, our orientation coordinators create and implement summer orientation content. So Purva did also mention this a little bit earlier, but most of what you see over the summer is something that's not only made by our professional staff, meaning me, other people on our team, but also orientation coordinators really do have a say and are integral to what the summer looks like. So you'll be able to gain that experience in program development. Additionally, you'll be able to assist with administrative and logistical tasks for orientation sessions. So if you are a person who really wants to gain customer service skills, this is the job for you. You will be doing a lot of things on the phones, talking to parents and family members, of course, students who are registering for programs. You'll also be able to gain skills in Excel. Purva probably is nodding her head right now because Excel is like her best friend over the summer, but definitely gaining skills in Excel with technical skills like that. Additionally, you'll be able to assist in the setup and breakdown of presentations, spaces, and program elements. So you're more so leading that along with orientation leaders supporting you with that. So you'll be able to see the behind the scenes work and facilitate it. And then lastly, you'll be participating in overnight duty rotation. So that is going to be happening on a rotation, as mentioned on the slide. This will not be every single night, but you will be in charge alongside a grad staff member to help make sure that participants who are staying overnight are safe and everything is going okay. If they have any concerns, you're kind of that main point of contact to be able to support them, and we can go into further details about that if there's questions later on. But that's an overview of the roles and the responsibilities. So now we're going to take some time to talk about the important dates and time commitments. For the orientation coordinator role, it's pretty similar to the orientation leader, except for the things that are big and bolded in red. So those are the main things I'm going to highlight. The first thing is the orientation coordinator not only works in the summer, but they also work in the spring. So an orientation leader's main role is over the summer, but orientation coordinator has both the spring and summer commitments. For the spring, this is paid, but you'll be working about 10 office hours per week within that time frame on the screen. So you'll be doing 10 office hours, which are paid by the fee that we'll mention a little bit later. In addition to your 10 office hours, which is the time frame of when you're doing a lot of your projects, you will also have spring team meetings weekly, and that will start the week of February 16th. They will occur Wednesdays from 2 to 3:30 p.m. This is the tentative time. This is the time that we would like for everyone to mark on their calendars when they're looking forward to this role and hoping to accept the role. But if there needs to be alternative times, you're able to mention that in the application. But in addition to your spring weekly meeting and the 10 office hours you're using to work on projects, you're also required to attend a professional development opportunity, which might sound a little boring, but it's actually like the most fun experience you'll ever have. This is our NOTA Regional Conference. It is a 2-day conference, and it's actually going to be in Baltimore. So you're going to have fun to go to a different state. But this is a professional development opportunity to not only like gain your own skills, but also meet a bunch of other student leaders who are working in orientation over the summer from a variety of different universities. So there'll be students from Towson University. There might be students who go to University of New Hampshire. It really just depends on the universities that's coming to the conference, but you are able to walk away with not only skills, but really good relationships. So that's something you can look forward to as an orientation coordinator. And then the last thing that I do want to highlight that is a requirement for an orientation coordinator is helping out at Rutgers Open House. That is going to be happening on April 11th, 2026. The time is to be determined because we do have different shifts. So we'll make sure to communicate that once the team is selected. With that being said, for the summer commitments, the time frame is pretty much the exact same as the orientation leader role. The only difference is when you're moving in, you'll be moving in the end of May instead of early June. And then you're going to be having your training at the end of May as well, because training for orientation coordinators is a little bit earlier than orientation leaders. So that's just something to be aware of. You're moving in a little bit earlier. But other than that, everything remains the same. So now we're going to pass it over to Purva to talk about her OC project. What was something that she was able to work on from start to finish in her role?
All right, so I was able to work on 3 projects as an OC. Social media, the one that you see right in front of you, what would you do? And I also worked on the mix and mingle. So the mixers that OLs have, I was the one that kind of organized those. But I'm going to focus on what would you do here because 1, it was my favorite project, and 2, it is one that if you attended your orientation, you probably remember. I really love this project because as someone who has been a theater kid since I was 14, so for 6 years, having the ability to write these skits and then train the OLs, to rehearse these skits and then perform them was so much fun. Also, these skits, like each one of them has a very important message. So it was awesome being able to contribute to the education of our new incoming class. So a lot of projects, as an OC, you usually have a partner. Like you most likely will have a partner. There are some that are a little bit easier to do, so they might be a single person project. But I was working with my fellow OC Andrea on these skits, so it's really awesome when you're able to combine 2 creative minds and see what comes out of that. So we wrote these scripts during our office hours in the spring. We had plenty of time to work on it. We had a pro staff supervising the project, who was able to give us all the feedback and insight that we needed. And that's pretty much it. We wrote the scripts. You always have the previous year's projects to work off of. If you want to utilize that, you can. And if you want to start from scratch, that might be an option as well. But we kind of workshopped the previous year's skits to make them more like relevant to the incoming class. So there's 3 different scenes. One is mental health, one was about an unhealthy relationship, and the last one was about intoxication. But all 3 of them were scripted perfectly and then rehearsed during training. There's multiple times. Like, trust me, we're not going to be like, oh, here's the script, you need to have this down by next week. No, we're going to have at least like 1 to 2 opportunities per week to rehearse these skits, and then very gently be like, okay, like now we're not going to be using the scripts in our hands anymore. But that's just what you're going to really experience as an OL. Like, you have time to rehearse and perform. But as an OC, if you write What Would You Do, or if you're just an OC in general, you're going to be presenting What Would You Do a handful of times throughout the summer. It is a lot of fun. It is one of my favorite presentations. I love presenting. I could never get tired of it. I miss it already. But it's just fun because the audience is so involved. They're so reactive. If you remember it, it's definitely one of the more entertaining times that you're sitting in the NPR for an hour or so. So I really like working on this project, and it's definitely something that I'm super proud of, because you don't just like, as an OC, like you don't just like write it and that's it. Literally thousands of people are going to see it over the course of the summer, and they're going to remember it, and they're going to talk about it. So it's really, really awesome. And it's definitely one of the, in my opinion, more impactful projects that I've done.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Purva. Hopefully those of you in the audience had an in-depth overview of things that you can be working on in the orientation coordinator role. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the qualifications of an orientation coordinator. So they are a little bit different than our orientation leaders. So if you're interested in this role, please listen up. For the GPA, you will need a 2.75 cumulative GPA. So that is the number that we are looking for. You at least need to be a second year class standing. So if you are a transfer student and you're interested in this position, this second year class standing is not applicable to you. But if you are a student who started here at Rutgers for your first year and you're currently a first year student, you would not be able to start until your second year. Hopefully that makes sense. I can clarify a little bit later, but you at least need to be a second year class standing. Additionally, you need to have previous employment and or leadership experience. This is required for this role. So employment looks different for every person, whether you worked at Chili's, that is acceptable, or if you worked in our student centers, that is applicable employment that we are looking for. And or leadership. So if you don't have employment experience, we have leadership experience, that works as well. For example, you served on a board of a student organization. You are in charge of a committee, a part of some department on campus. That is something that's also applicable when you're applying to the orientation coordinator role. In addition to what we had mentioned before for the orientation leader role, you need to be available for all summer trainings and sessions. And if it comes to any classes, you need to make sure that they're synchronous and accepted by your supervisor. The rest we had already mentioned, and we'll move on to the next slide. For orientation coordinator criteria, specifically, what are we looking for? Again, we are not looking for just one person to be an orientation coordinator, but we are looking for someone with previous work and leadership experience, whatever that may be. It can be diverse. All majors, interests, and identities are welcome for this role. You probably heard from Purva, Riley, and Nana. They have differing majors, and we really welcome that and embrace that on the team, because we're welcoming a diverse group of students who have different majors and backgrounds. So why not have a team that reflects that? Like the orientation leader role, we want you to have a positive attitude and a professional demeanor. We want you to be flexible as well, but most importantly, we want you to be able to take initiative. Taking initiative is something that's really important for the orientation coordinator role. You're serving as a supervisor, you're serving as a leader and a role model, and it's really important that you're taking the lead in some instances. Of course, having a strong work ethic and willingness to assist others, and most importantly, having an excitement for Rutgers University. Who does not want to see someone with Scarlet Pride? We really want Scarlet Pride to be infused in our team, and we want you to represent that as well. So now we're going to talk about the OC benefits. Like I had mentioned, this is a very fun job. You are going to enjoy it through and through. Of course, it's going to be long hours. There might be tough moments, but that is a part of growth. Overall, it's fun. As Porva has earlier mentioned, there's a lot of skills that you can gain from this position. I'm going to highlight the ones in red, particular to the orientation coordinator role, but problem solving, serving as a supervisor, that is a lot of things that you'll navigate, but also customer service. So you're going to be able to gain a lot of skills of customer service, whether that's in person or on the phone or via email. So if you're looking for those skills, you can definitely get that there. And of course, public speaking, not only to small audiences, but also to very large audiences, which is different than the orientation leader role. You'll be able to get some experience serving as a mentor or a supervisor. You'll learn about the university's traditions and services. Something that I really want to highlight is you're going to be involved in event planning and program creation. So again, your voice matters. It's integral to the success of our summer. So you're really a part of that process. And of course, you're going to get some cool swag. So you'll get maybe a fun little backpack, a fun jacket, some other fun things, but you'll be able to rep being on the team and look cool while repping it. As far as OC compensation, housing, and meals, the pay for the orientation coordinator role is a little bit more elevated. It is $17 per hour, and this is going to be paid out bi-weekly. This number will stay. As far as housing accommodations, you will have on-campus housing accommodations provided for summer 2026. And then for your meals, select meals will be provided during the orientation sessions and select training sessions. Something else to note is you are required as an orientation coordinator to work in the spring. I had mentioned this earlier. You will also be paid the $17 per hour for your 10 hours that you're working in addition to the hour that you're in for our staff meeting. So there we go. Alrighty, so that was a lot of information. Hopefully you feel well versed in both the orientation leader and orientation coordinator role. Now we're going to take some time to talk about the application timeline. So applications are due Monday, December 1st at 11:59 p.m. on the dot. So that's not 12 o'clock, not 12:01. That is 11:59 p.m. We are very stringent about that. So making sure you get it in at that time frame is important. After applying, you will be notified January 9th, which is during your winter break time frame, if you're moving on to our group interview process or if right now is not the right time for you, but you'll be notified on January 9th. Then our group interview weekend, which you'll be invited to, will happen January 24th to 25th. After the group interview weekend, you'll be notified on January 27th if you're moving on to our individual interview process. And then February 9th through the 20th is when we're having our individual interviews for our orientation leader roles. And then on March 6th is when we're going to be sending out an offer letter. So that is the time frame for the orientation leader role. For the orientation coordinator application timeline, applications are due, of course, the same time frame, December 1st, 11:59 p.m. You will still be notified January 9th. You will be participating in group interview weekend, the 24th to the 25th, and then notified on the 27th if you're moving on to the individual interview process. But something that I do want to highlight that's different is individual interviews for orientation coordinator role will be occurring February 2nd to February 5th. That is a shorter timeline because we're recruiting for a smaller team. And you most importantly will be starting in the spring. So individual interviews will be happening February 2nd to the 5th, and then an offer will be sent out on the 6th. So that's the difference in the timeline for those two roles. As far as the orientation team application, most importantly, this is an application where we really just want to get to know get to know who you are. Again, you are human beings, and we really want to get to know who is Purva, who is Kaya. We really want to know who you are and what you can bring to the table just as a human being. But in addition to that, we want to know what's your interest in the position. So we really want that to be spoken through your responses, being able to identify why you want to be on the team, what purpose and impact do you want to make. You will, of course, be submitting a resume and then providing contact information for one reference. Now we're going to do a quick overview of what we talked about a little bit earlier. There's not one type of orientation team member. The applications are due Monday, December 1st at 11:59 p.m. on the dot, so please do not wait until the last minute. We will be hosting open virtual hours November 21st from 1 to 3 p.m. That is the time frame that we are going to be able to answer any of your questions regarding the application or the process. The link for that will be found on our website. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at the email on the screen, which is transition@echo.rutgers.edu. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to your application.